I have way too many eggs. I am going to show you 3 easy and useful ways to use up a bunch of eggs all at once. Hi everybody, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. My name is Sarah from Living Traditions Homestead. And there are really 2 times of year where all of a sudden, if you have chickens, you're just inundated with eggs. In the spring, and in the spring, if you are selling them to friends or at the farmer's market, it seems like everybody has eggs, and so nobody really wants your eggs. And then you go through a dry spell in the summer where it gets hot and they don't lay as much, and then all of a sudden, when farmer's market season is over, they start laying again all of a sudden, and so now you've got a ton of eggs again. Well, that is where I am at right now. Farmer's market season is over. I don't have a lot of customers other than the farmer's market, so I have a ton of eggs. But this winter I'm going to be without eggs when those chickens slow down because of the cold and because the days aren't as long. So I'm going to take advantage of having all of these eggs, and I'm going to show you 3 ways to do that. The absolute easiest thing to do with extra eggs is to freeze them. Now, you can't put eggs in the freezer just in their shell because they will explode. But what you can do is crack them into muffin pans, freeze them in the muffin pans, and then pop them out, put them in a freezer bag, and throw them in the freezer. Now, your muffin pans conveniently hold 1 dozen muffins, which will hold 1 dozen eggs. So if you have more than 1 muffin pan, you can get rid of 2, 3, or 4 dozen eggs right away. But this way of preserving them and putting them in the freezer is actually perfect for the time of year when you don't have a lot of eggs. When your chickens are molting, when they're young, if you have a new stock and they're young, and in the middle of the winter when it's cold and the days are shorter and they're just not laying as much. So that is what I'm hoping to do, is to put away several dozen eggs in the freezer for the times that I am just stretched for eggs. That way I don't have to buy them at the grocery store. So I have sprayed this muffin pan with some oil so that the eggs will come out easier. And so I'm just going to, very easily just crack them and fill 1 muffin section with 1 egg. It's as easy as that. Now, I did try one time to use an ice cube tray, and that was a huge embarrassing failure. So please learn from my mistakes and don't do that. So I am just going to fill up this pan, and I actually have a second pan that I'm going to fill up, and I'm going to pop them in the freezer, and then when they're all frozen, I will show you what to do next. So this is what they look like when they come out of the freezer, and what I'm going to do is run some hot water in the sink and lay these in here for just a little bit so that they melt around the edges so I can pop them out. Okay, so they are melted enough. I was literally holding them in the hot water for like 5 to 7 seconds. And so I'm just going to pop these out of here real quick and put them right in a freezer bag, and then quickly put them in the freezer. Now, eggs like this can definitely be thawed out and used for your baking. They can also be used for scrambled eggs pretty easily. I'm not sure about fried eggs, but I would give that a try. I might give that a try. But I am very excited to have extra eggs in the freezer for baking and that kind of thing during times when my chickens just aren't laying very well. And honestly, this held a dozen. I have another muffin pan, so I'm going to fill up the second dozen. And you're only limited to how many muffin pans you have as to how many dozen eggs you can freeze at one time. And I'm going to get these right in the freezer so they don't stick together too much. The second idea I have is to make the little egg portions for like egg McMuffins or egg bagels or whatever. And that will also use another dozen of your eggs. So I have cracked them and scrambled them in this bowl. I've added some salt and pepper. And then we have a cast iron pan that has 6 spots here I'm not sure if it's like a biscuit pan or something like that, but if you don't have one of those, the closest thing in the regular store would be with like one of those muffin top pans, and I bet that would work perfectly. Otherwise, you probably still could use a regular muffin pan. In this pan though, because it's cast iron, I am going to, and I don't want the eggs to stick, I'm going to oil each section very liberally with some coconut oil. Now, we have found on Amazon a giant gallon of organic coconut oil at a very, very good price. And you can find a link to this in our Amazon shop, and that link is in our description area below. And I'm just going to carefully pour right from this bowl into each section, hoping that I can kind of make it the same amount in each one. Wow, that was like totally perfect. So I have my oven preheated to 400. I'm going to carefully take this pan and put it in there and let it cook, like I said, until all of this is set even in the middle. Okay, well, here they are, ready to be frozen individually on like a cookie sheet or something like that. You do want to freeze them flat first and then put them in a freezer bag. You could also go ahead and get your bagels and make the sandwiches already and then wrap them up individually. When we were still working full-time, oftentimes I would make something like this and I would put it, you know, on a biscuit with the cheese and everything and wrap it individually, put it in the freezer. And then before Kevin went to work, he would grab one, take it with him to work, warm it up there, and have his breakfast there with his coffee. So that's a fantastic idea as well. Well, my last idea, you guys, really, the sky is the limit. It's to get ready for breakfast burritos. Now, if you have a ton of time, you can add all kinds of ingredients to your breakfast burrito mix. If you have even more time, you can get the burritos, get the tortillas, fill it up with the burrito mix, and then wrap them individually and put them in the freezer. But if you don't have a lot of time, just scramble a dozen eggs and put them into sandwich baggies, divide it into 6 so that each one has about 2 eggs worth, okay? If you have a little bit more time, chop up some onions, chop up some peppers, put a little salsa in there, maybe some bacon, maybe some sausage, you know, whatever you would like in your breakfast burrito in the morning, a little bit of cheese, and then just roll these up, okay? These are still a little bit hot. I would recommend it be cool. But, you know, roll these up and seal them. Now, in a sandwich baggie, it's not very freezer proof. But if you can put them all into a freezer bag, then you have them all in one place. You can just reach into your bag, grab a tortilla, take it to work with you, and put it together. Or your kids can have a quick breakfast at the table before school or something like that. But easy peasy ways to use up your eggs. Making scrambled eggs, a whole dozen of them took me like 7 minutes. And the other thing that I did in the oven, which will get you ready for like the McMuffins or whatever, that only baked for about 15 minutes in the oven. So you guys, it doesn't have to take much effort. You don't have to have a lot of time, but make sure you use up all of those eggs. Put them in the freezer to use in your baking in the winter, something like that. But it is possible to use up a lot of them at once. So you guys, I hope this encouraged you to try some of these and to keep your eggs and just to do as much as you can with them so that you don't have to, in the middle of the winter or when times are hard, go to the store and buy eggs. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. We'd love to have you along on our journey. And if you have something to say, more ideas on how to use a ton of eggs, I would appreciate that in the comment section below. Until next time, you guys, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.